This time, they already sent him down to the lower bracket yesterday. They set up this rematch. They have been the spanner in the works for the entire region. They figured out this composition, and we saw how strong it was in EU as well. Maybe they influenced that a little bit. I think that there's an argument for it at the very least. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your host. I'm joined by then rookie Super T's and Zico. And Zico, I do want to ask, do you think it comes off of them playing this comp? Do you think that that really was where the leap was, where we start to see it in Europe as well?
Well, I think that what they showed essentially was that if you play it very aggressively and you play with the grapple weapon, then it can be an effective comp in dismantling some of these DK compositions. So I think that the composition itself didn't come from watching Never Lucky, but I think that some of the playstyle decisions and kind of showing what it's strong against definitely could have came from Never Lucky. And here, I think we should expect Windwalker DK versus Windwalker DH, unless Method Orange actually goes for the mirror. I would like to see the mirror, but for some reason, they seem reluctant towards it. I would like to see it, though.
Well, Colo is one of the only players that was able to dismantle this competition. A bunch of other players showed that they weren't as good. They weren't able to take it down. Colo has proven just how strong he truly is. Will he be able to do it again?
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see. When we saw this matchup take place yesterday, Never Lucky was able to destroy Mez, making him look like a little piece of paper. So he really struggled to have the single target healing. He needed to keep Mez alive off the back of the grapple weapon coming in from Colo. We'll have to see if Never Lucky can get aggressive, or Method Orange has potentially figured something out.
Yeah, we'll see if they've figured out the strategy here, because this grapple weapon is going to be devastating against Method Orange. Although Colo's mana efficiency has been, I would say, lackluster at best throughout this tournament. So if Method Orange can hold out for that late game advantage, it's definitely a win condition on their side.
Yeah, definitely, no question about it. Zach getting low definitely could be a pressure point here for Method Orange. And what we wanted to see from Method Orange yesterday, once they got Colo out of mana, they have to get the pressure rolling onto Zach, which is really going to tax Colo's mana and force Zach to potentially back off a little bit in this matchup. Get off Mez for a second, allow Sidu a moment where he can really catch up. But for now, the primary objective for Trill is definitely going to be running Colo out of mana as soon as possible. Mez getting bursted down just a little bit. Grapple weapon not allowing him to get that death strike off, and that is one of the counters we talked about. The class can disarm a Death Knight. That limits his self-healing. So when you have all your burst damage available, if you can grapple weapon, you can disarm a Death Knight. That's when you can really get some stuff rolling.
I like that both Valido and Mez have adopted the Lichborn Honor talent so they can get damage reduction every minute rather than every 3 minutes that the Icebound Fortitude would provide. I think it's a smart decision to exchange during these burst windows that each team's cleave brings to the table. Trill's mana rifts, though, are an inevitability to burn Colo out of the fight, which is what puts them on such a small clock to find a kill. Colo's actually just getting destroyed right now by Trill and barely able to even stay. Has to use Life Cocoon to just a solo Demon Hunter. Zach now gets swapped in. Mez is still falling behind. Grapple weapon denying the death strikes. Sidu is crowd controlled. Colo moves in for ending the match, but walks into a triple Trill stun. Welcome to Trillville.
Yeah, but still, Mez in some trouble. Earthen Wall Totem will keep Mez alive for now. Colo could potentially have to run away, and he does. He gets the crowd control on Sidu. Has to really think twice, and I like this pressure on the Zach. This is what we wanted to see from Method Orange. They need to find the mana rifts on Colo, but also just pressure Zach, make him run away, and these are the opportunities where the Rising Sun Kick Mortal Wounds will fall. Sidu can empower his healing without that healing reduction, but Mez could still be in some trouble. Touch of Death gets committed by Zach. Leg sweep onto Sidu, and Darkness gets traded out by Trill to keep his team alive.
Yeah, Method Orange just need to exchange cooldown one by one to try and take down Mez. Zach now on the back foot, needs to buy some time. Mez is still just taking a beating. He needs to stay alive just a tiny bit longer. I mean, Never Lucky took Method Orange down yesterday, but it was off the back of basically nothing left in the tank on mana. Good crowd control engagement here. Mez is in trouble. All three members collide. Mez catches the Spearlink Totem. Sidu keeps him in the fight for a tad bit longer. They just need the tiniest bit further. Colo's almost completely burnt out. If they can keep denying that wave of rain, maybe Mez just dies to the pressure Valido and Zach are dishing out. Sidu has to trinket out, connecting a couple of big heals in that Earthen Wall Totem. Colo gets gripped into the triple stun. Zach gets bursted down. Colo's totally tapped. Method Orange have this game.
Yep, they are at the finish line. They just need to take down Never Lucky, survive maybe one more setup. that they have available. They don't have too many tools, though. Method Orange, they really don't have many answers. Triple leg sweep comes in from Zach. Good damage on Mez. They have to hold on just a little bit longer. This is what we saw yesterday from Never Lucky. They were able to get to this point and close out the game. Paralysis on Sea-Doo. Mez still trying to kite away. A lot of counter pressure, though, on Zach, forcing him to run away as he gets gripped back into the fight. Life Cocoon will keep Never Lucky in it, but Mez still in a little bit of danger.
Life Cocoon saves Zach, but for how much longer? Sea-Doo surprisingly is now out of mana. The damage isn't stopping. Mez is still low. Zach is still low. It's anyone's match here in game number 1. This is an elimination, best of 5. The loser of this goes home in 3rd place. Method Orange want a good position so they can potentially move up in the ladder, but so do Never Lucky. If they can secure a 4th place top finish as well, it would be so beneficial. Zach holding on by a thread. There's no mana left. Colo can't even get in line of sight. He's snared so much. Zach has to support himself. How much longer can he do it? Fist of Fury denies the kill. Sea-Doo's just in midfield chilling. There's really no pressure yet. They grapple weapon Trill. I mean, it's going to stop them from dying, but that's their win condition.
Yeah, definitely a difficult situation for Never Lucky to be in when you have to start trading out that offense for defense. Now Zach with Touch of Death rolling. I don't know if he has enough time though. Colo getting low. Life Cocoon does get traded out. Trill gets that major objective. Colo, no mana, no Life Cocoon. Zach getting low. Do they have the Touch of Karma? They do. Zach manages to stay in it, but there's just no healing available for Colo whatsoever. Imprisonment on Zach. He's still in a lot of trouble. Has to port out of line of sight. Colo gets gripped away. Zach left all alone. Diffuse magic, maybe enough for him to survive, but with Colo on no mana, I don't know if Never Lucky will ever stabilize again.
Colo gets swapped to and bursted, ducking around the corner, healing with absolutely nothing left in the tank. Any amount of damage should be enough for Method Orange to push Never Lucky over the edge. Zach has no defense. Colo has no defense. Sea-Doo's crowd controlled. Maybe they can go for one more push. Triple leg sweep. Sea-Doo trinkets out. Zach's on the run, but Trill's on the hunt. Zach manages to get around the corner, but he's not going to be able to support himself. Trill is looking to close. Triple crowd control secured, and Method Orange claim the kill in game number 1. This looks totally different than we saw yesterday.
They weren't able to do this yesterday at all. It really just seemed so one-sided. It seemed like just shutting down Mez was going to be the answer. Then at times, the attention needed to be shifted over to Sea-Doo. What is the story in this first game, Zico?
Well, it's kind of what I was saying yesterday. Method Orange looked like they were winning those games in terms of mana, but then they just had Trill chasing Colo the entire game. Mez left to fend for himself, and he wasn't able to dish out enough pressure. This time around, though, Trill was able to assist Mez more with the pressure onto Zach, forcing him to run away and just kite more, and that kind of allowed Mez to just stay aggressive. We like to say offense is your best defense at times, and this is definitely a case of that, because this time around, they didn't just run around after Colo and then eventually get overrun in dampening. Instead, they had Sea-Doo stop some of those drink attempts and had Trill pressure him at times and mana rift him at times, but also a lot more just pressure on Zach, which is exactly what I wanted to see yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you look at yesterday and they were just like, oh my goodness, what is happening? Everybody was caught off guard. I know we were even really excited to see it on the desk. We're like, wait, this is the answer we've been waiting for. And then you see slowly they get to go back to the drawing board and they're like, oh, no, let's just punch them harder. And it really does work. They are able to stop a lot of that. They also have an extra series, not only an extra night to prepare, but they have an extra series to watch, and they go, okay, what are the weaknesses, guys? Who should we sit on? Who do we need to try to punish? And now, honestly, Method Orange is trying to do just that.
Yeah, I think so far Method Orange has been doing a good job. Yesterday, the games that they played were really close, like we kind of alluded to. I'm wondering if Colo, once again, could potentially just play a little bit more mana efficient in these matchups, kind of pick his moment to push in and get aggressive. Yesterday, it was working for him quite well, where he could really get aggressive and push in for those all-ins, just sort of do or die for their team. But when people start adapting to that, you kind of have to play a little bit more strategic. And I think that he could hold on to his mana, pick his moments a little bit better, and still continue good pressure onto Mez.
I think that's the thing, Supatis, when we do look at this matchup, when we really do start to think about this matchup in particular, definitely Colo has figured out what he wants to play, but does he have enough time on this Monk right now to really get to do everything that he wants to do, or does he need to focus on a limited amount of strategies?
I mean, every win they got, I think, against Method Orange yesterday was on the back of if Method Orange didn't die in that 2-second window, then Method Orange would have won that series probably 3-0. So even though it looks one-sided based on the score, I don't think that the games themselves were that one-sided. And Method Orange, I mean, Cedar wasn't really having the best day either yesterday with the way that it started for him in his personal life. So maybe today is just better for them overall. And if they have their solid game plan, that's this composition isn't necessarily the be-all, end-all to take down Method Orange.
I wonder, you know, it's fun to talk about, right? But I don't think yesterday really messed it. I think he was fine.
I think it was just an excuse?
I think he was fine. I don't even think it was an excuse. I think he was fine. I don't think he tried to use it as an excuse either. I think it was just like one of those tweets when you wake up at the beginning of the morning and you're like, oh man, today stinks. And then you go and you play the tournament and it's just another day in the office. I don't think that was really a problem. I think it really did come down to the actual composition. I think they were caught off guard. I think Colo did something incredibly smart. And now I think Method Orange has a little bit of time to figure it out. I don't think it's because they slept more or anything like that, right? I think it's just the strategy itself. And like you guys did allude to, it was close yesterday, even when they were surprised. So now that they're less surprised, they can actually go through the motions a little bit better. But I don't count Never Lucky out of this one yet.
That's one of the problems when you play a strategy that really relies on an all-in, hyper-aggressive. If a team has a little bit of an opportunity to play against that, they can make slight adaptations to try to just survive that all-in, and then all of a sudden they get to swing the advantage in their favor. But if Never Lucky, they play it a little bit more conservatively. It's a more consistent strategy where they're just trying to sort of take down Mez, put out good pressure. But Colo holds on to a lot of that mana by not necessarily just pushing in every single time Way of the Crane is available. And maybe Zach plays a little bit more defensive talents. Or maybe he's the one that runs the grapple weapon instead of Colo. Then all of a sudden Colo's freed up. He can Transcendence away, which basically allows him to get away from mana rifts more often, which is really important because what ends up happening, you'll get out of the stun, but you're snared. So it becomes difficult to get out of those mana rifts. But if you can just immediately Transcendence, then all of a sudden you avoid that altogether and Colo can hold on to even more mana because we saw at the end of that game, Cedo almost was completely tapped. So if they could have just held on another minute and a half, they could easily just win with a nice, consistent strategy.
You know, when you look on the side of Never Lucky and the way that they are playing, just to kind of wrap up what you were saying, I feel like it is a composition that is playing a much more volatile strategy, which is something that we've consistently seen Method Orange actually do last year. They've gone for these volatile strategies, and you can see how that would affect certain series. Right now, Method Orange is probably on the most consistent composition that you could have in the entire Azeroth globe right now. We are going to see Never Lucky making a slight adaptation here. Are they okay, this is interesting. Ultimately, when we look at what they are playing, Method Orange is on that consistent platform, and when you're playing against a volatile matchup, I feel like it does seem to a lot of times when you have a little bit of time to think about strategy, favor something that is so consistent.
Well, the Warrior can play disarm, but I don't think Never Lucky's composition was the issue. I think they're going to lose a lot of that survivability that the Windwalker actually brings, and I think they're going to be very quickly on that timer. I don't like this composition at all from Never Lucky. I think that they should have just swapped around some talents, cleaned up their defense a little bit, and just not played as Zug. I think Colo, he's running the grapple weapon, whereas on Wildcard Gaming, Blizzo was running the grapple weapon, and Looney was playing reduced cooldown on Transcendence, Colo was not. So I think if they swap that around, and they will have a little bit less pressure from Zach, and a little bit more, you know, easier time to avoid mana rifts, to kite Trill a little bit and just make him a little bit less effective. If they do that, all of a sudden, I think that the momentum is going to swing back in their favor, and they're going to actually put Cedu on that timeline in terms of mana. So I think that this is not the answer. I think the Warrior just doesn't bring any self-sustain. He can still bring one of those disarms, like the Windwalker, but so can Colo on that Mistweaver. So I really don't see the Warrior being more effective here at all. You also still have the Mortal Wounds effect from the Windwalker, so just a little bit, a target that's basically juicier, but also dishes out a little bit more consistent pressure here for Never Lucky.
It checks all of the same boxes, right? They have very similar roles. It's interesting to not see Never Lucky stick to their guns, but if you are going to try to do something a little bit off color, it is going to be in this second game, right? They still will have some breathing room after that. You don't want to be doing it when you're completely with your back against the wall. They want to be able to take this one and tie up the series.
Yeah, and one of the problems with the Warrior is he doesn't have that same sort of self-sufficiency as the Windwalker Monk, but good pressure on Mez very early on. Cedu forced a trinket, Earthen Shield Totem dropped as well to keep Mez alive as he's trying to kite. And one of the things as well for Mez is with the Chains of Ice, he's going to be super effective. Can he just go down instantly? Never Lucky. They have such a tremendous amount of pressure. Method Orange has basically burned down every single one of their defensive cooldowns already.
Aggressively, the Warrior is going to bring devastation. It's just defensively that it is inferior, maybe mobility as well to the Windwalker. It's more risk versus reward, I guess, with Zach on that Arms Warrior. It was a big push early on. It netted them basically every major objective. The last line of defense will be Trill's Darkness, although now Zach falling behind as a result. We're seeing that lack of weakness. Colo caught and stunned, Mana Rifts connect. That is going to be the late game win for Trill if they just maintain that. Zach gets stunned up, Colo exchanges with the Life Cocoon. We do see the disarm run as well for the Arms Warrior. A nice countermeasure against the Unholy Death Knight's Death Strike. Mez trying to kite, gets knocked and denied on his Wraith Walk. Sidu gets stun locked. It's looking decent for Never Lucky aggressively, but they're on a short clock.
Look at Zach. He's just waddling as if Mez is a Frost Mage, keeping him rooted up and snared. His uptime on Mez has been really limited. What Mez has been doing is just running back and forth. Keep Chains of Ice on Zach. Guess what? If he doesn't have charge, he doesn't have a stun, Mez is going to be able to easily just walk away from him, avoid a lot of the damage, just like we see now. Zach can get to him with the charge, but now Mez reversing, running away. Zach luckily has the Blade Storm, but after that, that's when really Mez's kiting is going to come in huge. But he gets low, a lot of pressure still on Mez. Sidu caught into a stun. Darkness has to get dropped out as Mez was in execute range. A really scary moment for Method Orange.
Death's Advance prevents Mez from being knocked out of the Darkness, taking a page out of Swapsy's book to make sure that Darkness defense allows Mez to survive. That could have been the end of the game if Mez had no presence of mind to save that. But now he is disarmed, unable to Death Strike. Sidu has to save him. He's not casting heals. He gets stunned. Mez is still low on health. Zach wants to close it out aggressively. This comp pays off. Never Lucky put a point on the board in game number 2.
Never question Colo! Never Lucky going to switch up their composition and shred the competition. What they shred does not matter. That's going to be a win on the board, all tied up 1-1.
I mean, what can you say? The Arms Warrior brings a lot of offensive capability, especially with that sharpened blade. If when you burst down Mez, not only are you disarming him, but you sharpen him up, so those death strikes are reduced significantly. You're going to have a lot of pressure, which is what we saw.
Seiko, how do you feel about the Warrior now that you saw it in practice?
Very excited.
Well, let's just look at Mez right here. So he has his Gladiator's Medallion. He recovers from this situation here with the Darkness. Look at Sidu's Trinket as well, 20 seconds left on that. Look at Colo's Mana. Basically, this is one of his, potentially his last push. So Mez recovers here, he has his Trinket, he gets disarmed. Just Trinket to disarm Mez, right there, just Trinket it, spam Death Strike.
Trinket?
Yeah, you can Trinket out of disarm. Or
yes.
Gladiator's Medallion.
I'm just saying, trying to like maybe help him.
Yeah, well, Sidu Trinket's here. So if Mez Trinket's there, Sidu can sit that stun, and then they still have Sidu's Trinket to fall back on as well. Colo's going to run out of mana. Method Orange wins.
All right, well, you can see the curveballs are really the things that are throwing Method Orange here. How many curves can you throw in a game? We're going to find out when we return.
So I think it's unlikely we do see that, but it could potentially be something that they work towards in the future.
It's important to note because at the beginning of the year, obviously at BlizzCon, it was huge to use that Moonkin, use that Demon Hunter together, but now it does seem like a lot of the Wizards are going to be paired up together. We haven't seen Method Orange fully utilize Sam I Am yet, but Never Lucky going to try to use the composition that got them one win on the board to get on match point.
He's already under fire here by Never Lucky. Cannot afford to make a mistake as was made in game number 2 if they want to stay alive in the tournament. Huge damage still coming through from Never Lucky as Sidu's locked out of the match. Needs to be careful. Healing Tide Totem down. Consistent healing, but he needs to get a chain heal off, reposition far away from Valito's potential incoming interrupts. Instead, trying to activate some immunities to that and stabilize the team. Triple stun for Trill. Good secure here. Capacitator Totem to follow it up. With no way of the Crane, Colo's recovery will be limited, but maybe he doesn't care about recovering. It's all about chasing down Mez. Mez is playing a lot more defensive, utilizing that Chains of Ice and repositioning away to try and avoid Zach, but with Blade Storm immuning the Chains of Ice, Zach is getting uptime and Mez is getting chopped.
Yeah, Mez is trying to run away, but still never lucky. They have a lot of pressure in this matchup so far. They managed to find Mez with the grapple weapon. No trinket available, almost in execute range. Sea-Doo forced overlapping Ascendance with Spirit Link Totem. Gets interrupted. Mez still not out of it yet as he looks to kite away from Zach, but Zach just goes in battle stance. Full Zug. Darkness gets dropped out by Trill. The last line of defense as Sea-Doo finally connects some heals to keep Mez in the game.
Very close call for Method Orange here. Never lucky, almost putting them on match point, and perhaps they will moving forward. Trill, though, has still secured that mana advantage, which is of utmost importance, which is basically the only thing that they're winning on at this point. Zach has multiple defensives to burn through to stay on target. Earthen Wall Totem down. Unlikely that we see Mez go down for a few seconds until that defense has faded. They just need one good crowd control chain. Never lucky have this. The next wave of the Crane, if they can save the Manatee, push in with it with a grapple weapon or a disarm, I mean, they could just kill him here and now. They've got good crowd control. They just need to stay on target. Zach leaps over, not able to make it completely there. Sharpened Blade available. Wave the Crane up in 10. The pressure is mounting. Trill's doing his best to stall. Mana Rift connects. Colo might not have mana for it. They need to get a kill with it. They've still got pressure. Zach's still up. Wave the Crane available. They need to do it here and now. If they don't get a kill on Mez within maybe the next 20 seconds, it's going to be curtains for Never Lucky.
I have to agree with that, but Mez still in a little bit of danger. Zach, no die by the sword. Mez getting low. Stormbolt on Sea-Doo. Almost in execute range, but they're turning around the pressure onto Zach. Mana Rift gets dropped onto Zach just for that percentage-based damage. Polo into the Mana Rift. He has to trinket out. Life Cocoon on Zach. Will keep him in the fight. Sea-Doo pushes forward. Lands a full Hex onto Colo, but with that Life Cocoon, Zach manages to stay alive. Asphyxiate stun. Mez looking to really get aggressive, but might get punished here. A full fear coming in. Intimidating shout from Zach. Crowd controlling up Sea-Doo and Trill. Mez still left by himself to survive during this time.
Polo getting more crowd control. It's do or die. Who will fall first in this fight? Will it be Mez or will it be Zach? We're about to find out. Colo does not have the mana to Wave the Crane. He's relying on his team to deal enough damage to get the kill. Perhaps with one interrupt, Mez could fall. The pressure is still mounting as Mez barely holds on. No defense for some time on either side. Colo recovers, but a Hex by Sea-Doo could potentially close this game out. At the same time, Mez is still low on health. It's very close to call at this point in game number 3 as both of these teams face elimination. A lot of points on the line to secure their spots to that land to the spring finals later this year. Mez is trying to kite, avoid damage, and drag it out for the late game. Trill has secured that Mana Rift advantage, but now Sea-Doo is totally tapped. Fortunately, his defense is going to be available if Never Lucky can't get a kill soon.
Yeah, Cole, he has a Life Cocoon, activates it onto Zach. Now they're pushing in, trying to take Mez down with the grapple weapon. Stun onto Sea-Doo. Mez still has to kite. He has to be able to get away. Cole using the last little bit of his defensive cooldowns with that Life Cocoon. Nothing really available. Mez getting low. Anyone could fall during these moments. Sea-Doo has to keep him alive, and Sea-Doo actually has the Spirit Link Totem, the last little bit of his mana available to keep Mez in the fight if he needs it. That's the last line of defense for Method Orange. Zach getting low as well. Which one's gonna fall first, Sid?
Rallying Cry may not be enough as Zach is likely to fall here. Landing a Fear though, maybe 1% health. They've still got damage. Belito trinkets, he's not gonna be able to close it. Trill denies the kill. Zach goes all in with 1% health remaining. Almost manages to take down Mez, but almost is not enough.
It's definitely not going to be enough, but how good does it feel to see the melee mosh pit? Everybody just throwing blows back and forth. A great game to watch. Method Orange is going to come out on top, but you have to think back. There's a moment where Colo just loses a little bit too much mana. It doesn't look like he has enough to go in with the Way of the Crane. Trill manages to land that Mana Rift on him. If that doesn't happen, do we have a different outcome in this game, Z?
Absolutely, but there was also a moment where they overlapped Darkness, Spirit Link, Ascendance. Method Orange overlapped basically every single big cooldown, but Mez had such a great kiting this game. Really did a good job here spacing his cooldowns, and while Trill was applying enough pressure for sure to Colo with those Mana Rifts, I gotta say, Trill, man, you gotta focus Zach more. This guy is sitting in battle stance, just smashing Mez, make him go D-stance, put the pressure onto Zach. Colo is going to have to push in to make sure that he gets those heals. That's when Sea-Doo can maybe sneak in a wind shear, and then you can maybe get a couple of those Mana Rifts. When you're going that hard, it's very risky.
Yeah, I mean, he's just going full barber, snip, hanging out in battle stance, man. 1% health, go in, try to get the kill. I love it. I love what we're seeing from Zach right now. How do you feel about the Warrior, though, now that we've seen quite a bit of it?
Well, it definitely is a high-risk, high-reward pick, right? Still, I feel like Method Orange, they're slowly adapting to it. They're slowly getting used to this higher damage that it's bringing. However, this was on a large map. They can't afford to make those big defensive overlaps on a smaller map. And I think the highest criticism I have for Method Orange right now is Trill gotta play a little bit more careful. He's gotta babysit Mez a little bit more, use some of those stunts more often onto the Warrior, like he was doing at times during that game. You don't need to go for every single mana rift. The most scary part is, of course, when the Way of the Crane gets active, but you can kind of try to deal with that when it happens, imprison it, stun it, use a couple of mana rifts then, but overall, apply pressure on Zach. This guy cannot be in battle stance. As long as he's in battle stance, Mez is going to be getting chopped.
Just to play devil's advocate, Mez definitely getting chopped up like a salad there if you do allow Zach to just have free reign, but just to play devil's advocate, we talk about some of those moments where he's just short. Colo is just short of having that Way of the Crane. If those mana rifts don't come in on him, he is able to do it, and then you're forced to go for something like an Imprison to try to slow it down. Is it worth taking that risk throughout the entirety of this next game?
Well, I see what you're saying here, but at the same time, when you counter pressure Zach, because he's in battle stance, you reduce that damage anyway from the Warrior, and then when the Warrior, especially if he sits in battle stance anyway to try to get that big pressure, you will force Colo to come to you. I think the biggest criticism is that at parts in this game, Trill is literally going to the other side of the map and then getting those mana rifts. And then while he's doing that, Mez is in a 2v1 for a really long period of time. Whereas if you just apply the pressure, you will have Colo come towards you. Then it's a less of a downtime there where you can actually just get the mana rift still, but not maybe as much, but still also have a lot higher pressure. It just makes it a lot more safer in general for Mez, because you have the win condition if the game goes late that you win, and that way you're also not going to be forced to overlap Darkness and just Spirit Link and literally every single button you have.
And you take it a step further too. If you are getting those high pressure situations, it's not like Colo isn't going to still be getting drained in the mana bar. There's more than one way to make sure that you do tax that mana. One of them is going to force him to have to pump some big healing into Zach to get him a little bit closer. You will be able to get out that pressure. So definitely a line of play that we may see from Never Lucky here. Method Orange is going to be picking first. Never Lucky with that advantage to try to tie up this series and bring it to a game 5. What do you think that they do? Like, I feel like at this point Method Orange is pretty confident in sticking with their battle tank comp.
Yeah, it seems like that's all they really want to run. If they can run the Demon Hunter, Death Knight, Resto Shaman, that is what they want to run. It's triple main setup for them. You have Sidu on the Shaman, Mez on the Death Knight, and Trill on the Demon Hunter. And I got to say, Trill really seems to be favoring that Demon Hunter over the Windwalker. In the past, it seemed like it was more Windwalker, a little bit less Demon Hunter, until we got into Battle for Azeroth, where Trill really changed his focus for Method Orange, going strictly on that Demon Hunter, looking for these mana rifts. And Method Orange really is the team that pioneered that build, and they want to take advantage of it. While it's powerful, you really can't blame them. Never Lucky, they've come up with decent answers, and I think if they just clean up their gameplay a little bit more, I actually think the Windwalker setup's even better for them if they just play a little bit more conservatively, but we'll have to see. Method Orange comfortably, once again, locking in this composition, and we'll have to see what Never Lucky can get done.
Really is interesting to kind of note the fact that we really only see Trill on the Demon Hunter for the most part. It used to always be a conversation of, yeah, Trill's one of the best monks in the world, Chun-Li, like, you know, you have all those names in there, and now we don't really have that conversation very often. Everybody knows what Trill can get done on the Demon Hunter, but I'm curious if we just see them double down more and more on this composition while the getting's good.
Well, the getting's good, you might as well play Demon Hunter. I think Demon Hunters are really powerful right now. You have a clear win condition every single game, outmanning your opponents if you play it right, and Method Orange really seems to be favoring that strategy. It's working out for them. They did really well in Cup 2, 3, now 4. Potentially making it to the grand finals once again. So why change what isn't broken?
Yeah, and also keep in mind changes came in.
Why fix what isn't broken?
You got it. Yeah, also keep in mind in Cup number 2, that was when a lot of these changes did happen. In Cup number 1, too, I think there was still a level of reliance with Method Orange on one of their old compositions with Sam I Am on the Moonkin. We saw that even in Cup 2 quite a bit, if I do remember correctly. So I think as they've gotten comfortable in this meta, they have figured out just how strong this composition is. And, you know, it's a pretty smart route to pick a winning composition, and that is something that we have seen from Method Orange, and it's something that we haven't seen from other teams. Now, as we look at Never Lucky here, Zach is going to play the Warrior again.
Yep, Zach is going to play the Warrior, so what I want to see is use Sea-Doo on the opening side of that room, try to bring the fight towards a little bit further away from the room, maybe towards where that pillar is in the middle here on Black Rook Hold, and just have Trill kind of babysit Mez more, apply a lot of pressure to that warrior, make sure that he doesn't go battle stance. And Sea-Doo was hexing Colo a lot last game, maybe even look to get some of those hexes onto Velido. I know it's difficult because of the anti-magic shell, of course, and things like that, but if he can land a hex or two onto Velido, that's also going to reduce the damage. And whenever Colo pushes in, that's when Trill can look for those mana rifts. I don't want to see Trill chasing Colo around, trying to get mana rifts that way, because it's just an unfavorable trade. You reduce some mana, but meanwhile Mez is just in such a bad situation, facing two really high damage melees on his own, basically.
This is always the type of series that I love, Zico. When we come back to the analyst desk, and every single time the criticism that you have, it changes what team you're focusing on. That really is one of those things that I think signifies a good back and forth series. You look at the strategy of one team and go, okay, they need to change this. Then they usually do. Then all of a sudden we're looking at the other team and it's like, okay, they need to clean up this. And this has definitely been one of those series where there is a true back and forth. We are seeing former teammates go head to head. We are seeing a brand new squad from North America trying to get their spot at a LAN, going head-to-head with the reigning BlizzCon champions. Now, Method Orange only needs one more win to get back into the good graces of the grand final. Never Lucky going to try to stop them in their tracks and bring this one to a game number 5. And right out the gate, we are trading blows.
Yep, very early on, damage is exchanged as Zach and Velido move towards Mez. Mez, once again, we're going to be looking for him to just keep Chains of Ice up on Zach, up on Velido, really try to limit their uptime. But as long as Zach has those gap closers, he has Charge, he has Bladestorm, he will be able to put out a lot of pressure. Colo getting imprisoned on his way of the Crane. Not a lot of healing for Zach. Nice stun lock there, forcing out the Life Cocoon, Trinket, and Way of the Crane already from Colo. But Mez under fire.
I mean, both teams exchanging huge defense in their lineup. It's match point for Method Orange. The pressure is on, and Never Lucky lock in their risky Arms Warrior composition. The Windwalker definitely more stable overall, but Never Lucky, I guess they don't have the practice on it. They want to rely more on just overwhelming their opponents. And in the current meta, they're battling an uphill fight in that regard. Trill still keeping a level head, and consistency with those mana rifts is likely to secure at least safe victory for Method Orange if they can't find a kill before Colo is out of mana. The main thing with the mana rifts is that they deny Way of the Crane. It really puts Colo on a clock. He's likely to have to just use Way of the Crane as soon as it's available. Zach using Glaire's Medallion aggressively. Colo looks like he wants to get some crowd control. Sea-Doo's locked down. Mez is the target. He makes a trade, but will that be enough? Sea-Doo gets stunned out of it. It's the triple stun lock combo by Never Lucky as they look to try and battle back to a game number 5. There's still two major objectives, Trill's Darkness and Sea-Doo's Spirit Link Totem. As soon as those objectives are out of the way, Mez will be an exposed target, but they need mana to push for those. With how much mana Colo has remaining, he's only really going to get one more Way of the Crane.
That Super Frog's waiting in the grand finals, potentially for Method Orange, if they can close out this game. Never Lucky, they want to keep their tournament lives available, but things are looking a little bit grim. Colo's mana not doing great right now, already around 30%. He only has one, potentially two of those Way of the Cranes left, and that's really the extra little bit of push that we normally need from Never Lucky to actually land a kill onto a very durable class like the Death Knight of Mez. Sea-Doo now caught into a full intimidating shout. Colo pulls the trigger as he moves forward, trying to take Mez down. What is Mez going to do? Looks like he's just going to exchange blow for blow. Sea-Doo does have the Spirit Link Totem if he needs it. Earthen Shield Totem. Mez in execute range. No Death Strike. Darkness gets dropped off by Trill, but a beautiful Ring of Peace knocks him out. And Sea-Doo forced to trade out the Spirit Link. And now Mez, in desperation, really doesn't have anything left.
Colo has to get another Way of the Crane. If he can somehow get enough mana to do it, they'll push Mez over.
Nice hex.
But I don't think they're going to get enough mana to see that. Maybe Colo just punches without Way of the Crane. That's what he's doing right now, at least. Just adding in the tiniest bit more damage. I mean, it's do or die. You've got to kill Mez here and now. You're totally tapped on mana. There's nothing left. They secure crowd control. They get the Glaire's Medallion. Now they could win with Intimidating Shout. Sea-Doo's going to have to pre-tremor on Zach's Intimidating Shout. Maybe they don't even need it. Mez is still down at half, desperately trying to kite, but the entire team of Never Lucky is just dying. There's no mana. They disarm Mez. Where's the crowd control on Sea-Doo. They have to stop him from crashing in these healing waves. There's no crowd control. Mez is still floundering even without crowd control. Imagine they land an interrupt, put Sea-Doo behind, puts Colo as well as totally tapped. Triple stun secured by the entire team of Method Orange. Colo just punching away even without way of the crane. Can they take Mez down? Will Lord Mez fall before Never Lucky in game number 4? It's looking like he's not going to. Zach on the ropes with nothing, leaps, tries to cross the map, gets gripped back to Mez, and Mez KOs him. Method Orange 3-1, Never Lucky advancing to the finals.
Aren't you glad they played Warrior again? Method Orange going to get into the grand finals, Zico.
Well, this is kind of what I said. High risk, high reward. First game, it works out. A couple of mistakes. They're not really used to that damage on the side of Method Orange. Second game, definitely a lot closer, but more kiting from Mez. This game, Trill only went for a couple of those mana rifts. Sea-Doo was going for more hexes on Valido. Didn't do a single hex onto Colo here. And of course, it just looked a bit more stable. Even here, we saw the darkness and the Spirit Link overlapped. In my opinion, Sea-Doo should have just traded out the Spirit Link right away and then held on to the darkness for a rainy day. And ended up not mattering too much though. Trill managed to get a couple of mana rifts in, and once you've kind of survived to the point where Mez has his secondary Gladiator's Medallion, Sea-Doo has his secondary Gladiator's Medallion, you can see that Zach is just gonna die because Colo, of course, doesn't matter that he has mana, he's healing a warrior with no self-sustain and no real like kiting abilities in the same way as a monk. You only have that heroic leap. We saw him get gripped back on that as well. So I think they got caught by surprise in the start, but then they learned how to punish the warrior as the series went on and how to deal with that overwhelming amount of damage that they were bringing. Still though, Never Lucky, really great performance this cup. Getting third, this is going to be really good for their overall standings and their chances at making spring finals as well later on.
I totally agree with you on both points. I think one of the main things that you note as we look at the bracket is we do see Never Lucky catch a lot of teams off guard, and it was fantastic to watch. A very good run from them, and also you instantly start thinking about how much is this going to get done? How far will they be able to get?